Greetings, fellow travelers of the cosmos. Before we embark on this fantastical journey through space, I have a humble request. If you enjoy this story, I would truly appreciate your support by subscribing to my channel. Your support and subscriptions mean the world to me, and I promise to continue working hard to bring you more thrilling and entertaining stories that you can enjoy. With your encouragement and appreciation, I'll be motivated to push the boundaries of my creativity and give you even more amazing tales. Now let's set aside our daily worries and dive deep into the unknown, where adventure, mystery, and wonder await. Without further ado, I present to you the alien cookbook recipes from beyond the stars. I never believed in aliens. That was until the day I stumbled upon an ancient, forgotten cookbook in the depths of an old, dusty archive. It was a Friday evening aboard the Starship Odyssey, and I was hard at work as the new interstellar translator. My role seemed simple enough: translate alien communications for the ship's trade missions. Every day I decoded strange symbols and learned alien languages, each more bizarre and complex than the last. But this particular evening would change everything. The archive room was quiet, save for the hum of the ship's engines. As I perused the endless rows of data crystals and physical texts, one particular object caught my eye. It was an old tome, its cover adorned with glowing symbols that seemed to shift ever so slightly, as though they were alive. It was unlike any book one had ever seen. The binding was made of some unknown material, smooth, yet tough, glittering faintly in the dim light. At first I thought it was just another piece of ancient Zerrian history, a race of advanced beings known for their enigmatic culture and intricate technologies. I thought nothing more of it and reached for it. Opening the first page, I was immediately struck by the fact that the language was unfamiliar, yet oddly readable. It was as if the words themselves were adjusting to my mind, translating in real time. But what truly threw me off were the illustrations. Rather than the usual dry technical diagrams, these pages were filled with colorful, intricate images of food, dishes I had never seen nor imagined. Strange fruits glowed with bioluminescent hues, while sizzling meats floated above flame like energy, suspended by some unknown force. I had seen countless alien texts, but none like this. I quickly began to translate the first page. It became clear that this was not a mere collection of recipes, but something much more profound. This was a cookbook, though calling it just that felt like an understatement. It was more than food. It was a guide to cultures, to distant worlds, to the hearts of entire civilizations. Each recipe, it seemed, was a story, a history preserved in flavor and scent. As I turned the pages, I read about meals that could only be prepared in the vacuum of space, ingredients harvested from stars, and cooking methods that defied the laws of physics as we knew them. My curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to delve deeper. As I read on, I realized this was no ordinary cookbook. It was a treasure trove of intergalactic knowledge, passed down through the ages by a species I had never heard of. They called themselves the Zerrians. The cookbook seemed to contain everything they had learned about the art of cooking across their millennia-long travels. They had visited countless planets, shared meals with otherworldly beings, and in doing so had come to understand something profound about the universe, about the interconnectedness of life itself. Through food, they had found a way to build bridges between species, to form alliances, and to foster peace. The more I read, the more I realized that this book was not just a collection of recipes. It was a guide to the universe itself. Each dish was a lesson, each ingredient a clue to understanding a new world. I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and a growing realization that this was not just a chance discovery. This cookbook had chosen me. It was as if the universe itself had decided I was ready to unlock its secrets. I had no idea how I would ever be able to gather the ingredients listed in the recipes, or how I would even prepare them, but I knew one thing for sure: this was the start of an adventure unlike any other. The origins of the cookbook were as mysterious as the recipes it contained. As I turned the pages, the text began to tell the tale of a species that no one had ever heard of: the Zerrians. They were an ancient race, known for their advanced knowledge of space, time, and even the fabric of reality itself. The Zerrians were not a species confined to a single world or even a single galaxy. They were travelers, wanderers of the stars, seeking not just knowledge but understanding. Their civilizations spanned countless planets, their explorers pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The more I read, the clearer it became that the Zerrians had unlocked the secrets of interdimensional travel long before anyone else had even imagined it. They were not only able to move through space, but through time itself. It was said that they could journey to the past, experience the future, and explore realms that existed outside the perception of linear time. This ability, however, was not just for exploration, it was the key to their understanding of the universe. The Zerrians believed that the universe was a vast web, each point connected by invisible threads. Every star, every planet, every living being was part of this intricate network, and food, they believed, was the most powerful force in the universe. Through sharing meals, they could form bonds with other species, transcend cultural boundaries, and understand the true nature of existence. They had come to realize that food was not just sustenance for the body, it was a conduit for connection, a bridge between minds, a way to communicate beyond words. It was in their travels to distant stars and forgotten worlds that the Zerrians had encountered other civilizations. Each culture had its own way of cooking, of preparing and sharing food, and with each new dish, they learned more about the species that had created it. They realized that the act of cooking and sharing meals was more than just an exchange of ingredients, it was a sharing of knowledge, history, and values. And so, the Zerrians began to document these recipes, preserving them for future generations. The cookbook, it seemed, was not just a collection of dishes, but a record of their travels, their diplomacy, and their philosophy of unity. The Zerrians were not without their enemies. Over time, their travels attracted the attention of those who did not share their peaceful ideals. A faction of their people, known as the Varkians, believed that the Zerrians' vision of unity was a weakness. The Varkians sought to dominate the stars, to bend the universe to their will, and to conquer those who did not share their vision of order. The conflict between the Zerrians and the Varkians escalated, and in the end, it was the Zerrians who disappeared, leaving behind only fragments of their knowledge. It was these fragments that had been scattered across the galaxy, hidden in ancient texts, relics, and artifacts. The cookbook, it seemed, was one such relic. It had survived the fall of the Zerrian Empire, passed from one civilization to another, until it eventually found its way to me. But why? Why had it been left for someone like me to find? I couldn't help but feel that my discovery of this book was no mere accident. It was as if I had been chosen to continue the Zerrians' work, to unlock the secrets they had left behind and perhaps even complete the mission they had started. As I read further, I discovered a final note written in a delicate script, almost like a last will and testament. It read, "The secret to the universe lies in the food we share. Through food, we bridge the gap between worlds. And through sharing, we become one with the universe itself." The words resonated deeply with me. I had always thought of food as a simple necessity, something to fuel the body. But now I understood it was so much more. It was a way to connect, to understand, and perhaps even to heal the rifts that had torn the universe apart. With this newfound understanding, I felt the weight of responsibility settle on my shoulders. The Zerrians had left behind a treasure trove of knowledge, and it was up to me to unlock it. But the journey would not be easy. The ingredients I needed were scattered across the cosmos, and the recipes themselves were far from simple. But I had something the Zerrians didn't have: human ingenuity and determination. If anyone could gather the ingredients, prepare the meals, and complete the Zerrians' mission, it would be me. And so I set my mind to the task. I had no idea where to begin, or how I would ever be able to gather ingredients like the essence of a black hole or the light particles from a pulsar. But I knew one thing for sure: the journey was just beginning. The Zerrians had unlocked the secrets of the universe through food, and it was now my turn to follow in their footsteps. The first recipe in the cookbook seemed almost too simple to be of any great significance. It was called stellar soup, and it was described as a delicacy of the Zerrian people. According to the instructions, this dish could only be made from ingredients harvested from the most extreme environments in the galaxy. At first, I was skeptical. The idea of cooking with particles from a pulsar, the essence of a comet's tail, and the tears of a black hole sounded like something straight out of a science fiction novel. not a cookbook. But there it was, laid out in front of me, an intricate recipe that spanned entire star systems and hinted at unimaginable scientific marvels. The list of ingredients seemed almost like a dream: light particles from a pulsar, essence from a comet's tail, and the tears of a black hole. It was a daunting list, one that seemed impossible to complete. But as I studied the recipe more closely, I realized that the Zerrians had left me more than just a cooking manual. The instructions were written with a depth of knowledge, offering precise methods for gathering these materials, as though they knew someone like me would one day find this book. The Zerrians had embedded clues within the recipe itself, suggesting that the ingredients were not just the building blocks of a meal, but of something much grander. I took a deep breath and decided that I would attempt to make this soup. If the Zerrians had gone to such lengths to preserve the recipe, there had to be a deeper purpose behind it. I didn't fully understand it yet, but I felt a pull, a sense of destiny guiding me forward. This wasn't just about preparing a dish, it was about understanding the universe, about connecting with beings across the cosmos, and maybe even discovering something that had been lost for millennia. The first step in the recipe was to collect light particles from a pulsar. Pulsars were neutron stars that emitted beams of radiation as they rotated, pulsing in and out like the heartbeat of the universe. These stars were located in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, hidden in regions where no conventional spacecraft could survive. But the Odyssey was not an ordinary ship. It was equipped with the latest warp technology, capable of traveling faster than light. With the help of the ship's navigational systems and the calculations I had learned from the cookbook, I set course for the pulsar known as Vorthron 9, located in the outer rim of the galaxy. As the ship approached the pulsar, the space around us seemed to distort. The gravitational field of the pulsar was so intense that even light itself was bent by its power. The ship's hull groaned under the strain, and the lights flickered for a moment, but the systems held. I instructed the crew to prepare the energy collectors, which had been specially designed to absorb light particles. According to the cookbook's instructions, we had to position the collectors at a precise angle --17.3 degrees from the axis of rotation. The alignment was crucial, or we would risk damaging the ship's systems, or worse, becoming trapped in the pulsar's gravity well. The ship slowly maneuvered into position, and the energy collector extended, absorbing the radiant light that pulsed from the star. It was a strange sight, waves of energy rippling outward, the beams of light dancing around us like fireflies in a cosmic wind. I could feel the power of the pulsar in my bones, a reminder that the universe was both vast and full of untapped potential. As the collector filled, I felt a sense of awe wash over me. This was no ordinary ingredient. It was a piece of the universe itself, captured and contained in a small vial. But we had only just begun. The next step was to gather the essence of a comet's tail. I had read about such comets in the ancient texts, but I never thought I'd be tasked with collecting from one. These comets traveled through the remnants of dying stars, their tails rich in materials that were not found on any planet. The Odyssey set off in search of Comet Glathtor, a comet known for its unique composition. It took us weeks to find it, a small ice-covered body shimmering against the backdrop of the dark cosmos. As we approached, I could see the tail stretching out in a glittering arc, like a silver ribbon hanging across the galaxy. We deployed the Essence Collector, a specialized tool designed to capture the unique vapor that emanated from the comet's tail, preserving its chemical and energetic properties. Finally, the most mysterious ingredient: the tears of a black hole. Legends told of how black holes were not just voids in space, but places where the very fabric of reality was twisted. It was said that black holes could trap not just matter, but emotions feeling so intense they became a form of energy. To capture these tears, we would need to find the most powerful black hole in the galaxy, the one that had absorbed the most sorrow, the most pain. After much searching, we identified the black hole Zeroth, located in the heart of the galaxy. It was said that this black hole had consumed entire star systems, leaving behind only empty space and echoes of the civilizations that had once thrived there. The journey to Zeroth was perilous. The ship's systems were tested to their limits as we approached the event horizon, the point of no return. We deployed the energy siphoning equipment, carefully harvesting the energy released by the black hole. The sensation was unlike anything I had ever felt. It was as if the very fabric of time itself was bending around us. The energy we collected was unlike any material we had encountered before, powerful, yet strangely sad. With all the ingredients in hand, I could feel the weight of what I had begun to undertake. Each step of this journey had brought me closer to something greater than just a recipe. The stellar soup wasn't just food, it was a connection to the cosmos, a bridge to understanding the very essence of existence. But as the soup's preparation drew closer, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was still so much more to discover, so much more that lay beyond the next page of the cookbook. To gather the light particles from a pulsar, we needed a ship capable of surviving the extreme conditions of such a distant, unstable environment. The Odyssey was not just any starship, it was equipped with advanced warp technology, allowing us to travel faster than the speed of light. But even with these capabilities, it would still be a dangerous endeavor. Pulsars are incredibly dense, rotating neutron stars that emit intense radiation and magnetic fields. Their beams of light pulse at regular intervals, but they're also surrounded by extreme gravitational forces, capable of pulling objects into their orbit. I had no idea how difficult this journey would be, but the cookbook's instructions were precise. The Zerrians had left detailed steps, guiding us through the dangers of pulsar navigation. The first instruction was to chart a course to the pulsar Vorthron 9, located in the outer rim of the galaxy. It was a relatively unknown region, sparsely explored and rarely visited by ships, let alone ones like ours. But we couldn't afford to hesitate. The recipe was clear: we needed to collect the light particles emitted by the pulsar in a very specific manner, precisely timed with the pulsar's rotation. As we neared Vorthron 9, the ship's navigation systems began to show signs of strain. The gravitational forces around the pulsar tugged at our ship, causing the hull to groan with tension. The entire crew was on edge, and even the most experienced navigators were visibly nervous. The Odyssey was a magnificent ship, but even it was not immune to the power of a pulsar. My heart raced as we slowly drew closer. Through the viewing windows, I could see the pulsar's radiance and eerie, shimmering light, pulsing rhythmically like the heartbeat of the universe. We entered the designated path, a narrow corridor of space, where we had to position the ship at exactly 17.3 degrees from the pulsar's axis of rotation. The trick was to align the ship in such a way that we could capture the beams of light without getting too close to the pulsar's gravity well. It was a dangerous maneuver. One mistake, and the Odyssey could be caught in the pulsar's grip, spinning forever in its deathly pull. But the cookbook's instructions were clear: we had to proceed with precision and trust in the technology at our disposal. The crew worked in silence as we activated the energy collector. The device, designed specifically for this mission, extended from the ship like a mechanical arm, capable of absorbing the raw light particles emanating from the pulsar. The energy collector hummed to life, and for a moment the whole ship seemed to vibrate with the force of the pulsar's light. It felt as though we were standing on the edge of reality itself, a razor-thin line between success and disaster. The light poured into the collector, which began to glow with a brilliant intensity as it harvested the raw energy. I watched in awe as the particles of light, each one a fragment of the pulsar's immense power, were gathered and stored in the collector's energy core. It was an incredible sight, almost too beautiful to comprehend. The light felt alive, shimmering with purpose, as though it had a consciousness of its own. There was no turning back now. We had secured the first ingredient, and I could feel the weight of what we had accomplished. This was no longer just about following a recipe, it was about understanding the true nature of the universe, about tapping into its most fundamental forces. Once the collection process was complete, we began our return journey. The pulsar's radiation still pulsed in the background, a reminder of the raw power that lay in the depths of space. The crew sighed with relief as the ship slowly began to pull away from the pulsar's dangerous proximity. But even as we moved farther away, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The light we had captured felt like more than just an ingredient. It was a symbol of the journey ahead, a journey that would take us deeper into the mysteries of the cosmos, to places where no human had ever ventured before. We celebrated briefly, but there was no time to rest. The next ingredient awaited us, the essence of a comet's tail. And so, with one task completed, we set our course for the next leg of the journey, a comet that promised to yield even greater wonders. But I knew one thing for sure: our adventure had only just begun. Each step was a step closer to uncovering the profound secrets of the universe, and I was more determined than ever to see it through. The journey to find the essence of a comet's tail was not as straightforward as I had hoped. The cookbook's instructions were precise, but the challenge of tracking down the perfect comet felt like searching for a needle in a cosmic haystack. According to the ancient text, the essence we needed could only be harvested from a comet that passed through the remnants of a dying star, a star that had exploded in a supernova, leaving behind a cloud of cosmic dust and energy. This particular cloud, known as the cosmic trail, was rich in elements that the comet would absorb as it passed through, making it the ideal source for the ingredient we needed. I had no idea where to even begin looking for such a comet, but the cookbook did offer a clue. It mentioned a comet by the name of Glathtor, a wanderer of the galaxy, said to be drawn to the remnants of dying stars like a moth to a flame. The Zerrians had made note of Glathtor in their travels, marking it as a comet of unique properties. This was no ordinary space rock. It had traveled through countless star systems, its tail imbued with the very essence of stars that had burned out long ago. I couldn't imagine a more perfect match for the recipe. It took us weeks to track Glathtor down. The Odyssey set course for the remnants of a supernova near the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy. The region was scattered with debris from stars that had exploded millions of years ago. It was a graveyard of cosmic bodies, planets, asteroids, and gas clouds all floating together, remnants of once thriving systems. We had to navigate through this wreckage, careful not to stray too far off course or get caught in the gravitational pull of any rogue objects. As we neared the area, the ship's sensors began picking up faint traces of the comet's tail, a telltale sign that we were getting closer. The tail of a comet, though usually faint, is always detectable by advanced sensors, especially when it is charged with the energy of a supernova's remnants. We followed the trail, using every tool at our disposal to lock onto its path. When we finally saw Glathtor, it was an awe-inspiring sight. The comet was a massive, irregularly shaped mass of ice and rock, its surface dotted with craters and scars from the countless worlds it had passed. But what caught my attention the most was its tail, a shimmering ribbon of energy that seemed to stretch for light years behind it. The tail was not like anything I had seen before. It was a vibrant blend of colors, swirling with hues of violet, blue, and gold. As Glathtor moved through the supernova's debris cloud, it was as if it was absorbing the very essence of the dying star. The tail was a living thing, pulsating with energy, and I could almost feel the weight of the cosmic history it had witnessed. We positioned the Odyssey in close proximity, taking great care not to disturb the comet's natural trajectory. The collector was deployed once again, this time designed to extract the essence from the comet's tail. It was a delicate process. The tail was composed of gas, dust, and particles, and the challenge was to harvest the right balance of elements without damaging the collector. The process took several hours as we carefully siphoned the essence from the comet's tail. As the collector filled, I couldn't help but marvel at the energy we were capturing. Each drop of essence was a concentrated sample of the star's final moments, a powerful, almost primordial energy that had been drifting through space for eons. Once the collection was complete, I felt a sense of accomplishment, though the journey was far from over. We had gathered 2 of the 3 essential ingredients for the stellar soup, but the hardest part lay ahead. The last ingredient, the tears of a black hole, was still out of reach, and that would take us to the very heart of the galaxy, to a place where time and space itself began to break down. I looked at the shimmering vial that contained the essence from Glathtor's tail, and for the first time I felt like I was holding a piece of the universe in my hands. It wasn't just a substance, it was a memory of a dying star, a link to a moment in time that could never be recreated. The Zerrians had known this, of course. They had understood the value of such moments, and through their travels, they had gathered them, preserved them, and passed them on. It was their way of connecting with the cosmos, of forging ties with distant worlds. As we set course for the black hole Zeroth, I couldn't help but reflect on what I had learned so far. The cookbook wasn't just a collection of recipes, it was a map, a key to understanding the deeper connections between the stars, the planets, and all the life in between. With each ingredient we gathered, I was beginning to understand the Zerrian philosophy. The universe wasn't just a collection of isolated, unconnected parts. It was a living, breathing entity, and food was the link that bound everything together. With that realization, I knew the final ingredient was within our reach, and when we obtained it, I would finally be able to create the dish that held the secrets of the stars themselves. The tears of a black hole, this was the final ingredient I needed for the stellar soup. The phrase itself sounded like something pulled from the most fantastical science fiction novels. Black holes, those enigmatic regions of space where gravity is so strong that not even light can escape, have always captivated the imagination of scientists and dreamers alike. But the Zerrians had known something deeper, something beyond the scientific. They had believed that black holes did not just consume stars and planets, but also the emotions and energies of the universe itself. These tears were not made of matter, but of something more intangible: sorrow, loss, longing stored within the black hole's immense gravity. It was said that these tears held immense power, far beyond anything a simple element could provide. Zerroth was the black hole we had to visit. It was located in the very center of the galaxy, in a region where space itself seemed to warp and bend. It was one of the largest, most powerful black holes known, and it had consumed entire star systems, leaving behind only the remnants of their existence. The history of Zerroth was steeped in tragedy, as entire civilizations had vanished into its maw. It was said that every star that entered its event horizon left behind a fragment of its life, and the black hole's immense gravitational pull condensed these fragments into a kind of cosmic terror residue of the lost moments of existence. The journey to Zerroth was not only long but incredibly dangerous. The Odyssey was equipped with advanced shielding, but the forces at play near a black hole were beyond anything we had encountered before. As we approached the galactic core, the ship began to tremble with the strain of passing through the gravity fields. Our sensors began to register strange fluctuations in space-time, and we were forced to make constant adjustments to avoid getting caught in the black hole's gravitational pull. It was like walking a tightrope across the most precarious abyss. As we neared the event horizon, the ship's instruments began to go haywire. The gravity from Zerroth warped our perceptions, and time itself seemed to distort. To the naked eye, Zerroth was just a swirling mass of darkness, surrounded by a haze of glowing light from the stars it had devoured. But as we got closer, I could feel something else, a pull, not just on the ship, but on my very soul. There was something about this place that was different, something primal. It was as if Zerroth itself was alive, aware of our presence. We deployed the energy collector one final time, this time not to harvest particles or energy, but to capture the essence of the black hole's tears. According to the cookbook, we needed to position the collector just beyond the event horizon, where the tears would be released into the surrounding space. The theory was that the immense gravity of Zerroth would extract the emotional energy from the stars and concentrate it into a form that we could collect. It was a delicate process, and even the slightest miscalculation could have catastrophic consequences. We had no choice but to move forward, trusting the calculations and hoping that the ship's shields would protect us from the worst of the gravitational forces. The collector slowly extended toward the event horizon, its mechanical arm stretching into the darkness like a hand reaching into the unknown. The energy began to accumulate as we approached the point of no return. The atmosphere in the cockpit grew tense as we waited. I could feel the crew's unease. Every second felt like an eternity, and yet there was a strange calmness that had come over me. I knew this was the final step, the last piece of the puzzle. We had already come so far, and now we were about to witness something that few beings, if any, had ever experienced. The collector began to hum, the energy inside it swirling as it gathered the cosmic tears. It was unlike any energy we had captured before. There was no visible light, no warmth, just an eerie sensation that filled the room. I could feel the weight of the emotion, grief, regret, and sorrow compressed into a form I couldn't quite grasp. It was as though we were holding the universe's most painful memories in the palm of our hands. The tears had a weight, a gravity of their own, and it felt like they were pushing against the very fabric of reality itself. Once the collector had extracted all that was necessary, we slowly pulled back from Zerrians' grip. The ship groaned as we reversed our course, using the last of our fuel to escape the black hole's pull. We had done it. We had gathered all the ingredients required for the stellar soup, but even as we made our way back to safer space, I couldn't help but feel that the tears of the black hole had changed something inside me. I had been part of something beyond the scope of understanding, a moment that transcended time, space, and emotion. The final vial containing the tears from Zerroth sat in front of me. It pulsed softly, its energy almost alive, as if it were waiting for me to complete the final task. The journey had been long, filled with danger and awe, but now the time had come to prepare the dish. With all the ingredients gathered, I knew the stellar soup would reveal its secrets, and with it, I hoped to finally understand the true nature of the Zerrians' wisdom. The universe, it seemed, was not just a collection of stars and planets. It was a living, breathing organism, and food was the thread that connected it all. I was about to partake in the most profound meal of my life, one that would change everything I knew about existence. With all the ingredients gathered, I felt a sense of awe and trepidation wash over me. The journey had been long and arduous, each step bringing us closer to something beyond the boundaries of our understanding. I had collected light particles from a pulsar, essence from a comet's tail, and the tears of a black hole. Each ingredient had been harvested from the farthest reaches of the galaxy, each one representing a unique force of nature that defied the known laws of physics. But as I stood before the stove in the ship's galley, the final test was upon me. It was time to prepare the stellar soup. The cookbook, though filled with strange and unearthly instructions, had guided me every step of the way. Now, as I opened to the final page, I was faced with a simple set of instructions that seemed almost too easy for the complexity of the journey I had just completed. The recipe called for the careful mixing of each ingredient, each one contributing its own essence to the whole. The pulsar light particles were to be added first, followed by the comet's essence, and finally the tears of the black hole. The order was critical. If I made a mistake, I would risk not only ruining the dish but failing to unlock the wisdom hidden within. I began with the pulsar light. As the particles mixed into the bowl, they shimmered with an ethereal glow, casting strange, fleeting shadows in the dim room. They felt like stardust, delicate and fleeting, yet powerful beyond measure. Next, I added the essence of Glathor's tail. It was a liquid, cool to the touch, but as it entered the mix, it swirled and pulsed with an energy all its own. The tail's essence had been drawn from a comet that had traveled through the debris of a supernova, and as it mingled with the light particles, the air around me began to hum with a faint, almost musical resonance. The last ingredient, the tears of Zerroth, was the most mysterious of all. The vial sat on the counter, its contents swirling like a shadow. It was not a liquid or a gas, but something far more complex. As I uncorked the bottle, the air seemed to grow heavy, and the room felt colder. The black hole's tears were not merely a substance, they were an emotion, a memory, a fragment of a dying star's last thoughts. I hesitated for a moment, feeling the weight of its significance. Then, with a steady hand, I poured the tears into the mix. As soon as the last drop fell into the concoction, the entire galley seemed to come alive. The mixture began to glow, not with light, but with something deeper in energy that filled the space around me. It was as though the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for the next step. The soup began to bubble softly, and the air grew thick with the smell of something ancient and vast. It wasn't just food, it was the essence of the stars themselves, the memory of civilizations long gone, and the culmination of everything I had learned during my journey. I allowed the soup to simmer, the ingredients blending together in ways I could not fully comprehend. The heat of the stove was just a small part of the process. As I stirred, the dish began to reveal its true nature. The particles of light from the pulsar shimmered like distant stars. The comet essence pulsed with the rhythm of a dying world, and the tears of Zerroth seemed to bend the very fabric of reality itself. It was a moment beyond comprehension, a synthesis of forces that had never before been brought together. When the soup was finally ready, I stood before it. awestruck. The air was thick with the fragrance of something both foreign and familiar, something that could not be captured by mere words. I took a spoonful, and as the liquid touched my tongue, a wave of understanding flooded my senses. It was as though I had unlocked a door to the cosmos itself. Every flavor was a memory of stars being born, of galaxies colliding, of civilizations rising and falling in the vast expanse of time. I could feel the sorrow of the black hole, the joy of creation, the infinite beauty of the universe. It was all there distilled into a single moment. As I sat there savoring the soup, I understood. The Zerrians had known something we had only just begun to realize, that food, at its essence, is not just sustenance. It is a connection, a bridge between all things. Through the act of sharing a meal, we reach across the stars, connecting with the hearts and minds of all who have come before us and all who will come after. The cookbook, the journey, the soup, it was all part of a greater truth that transcended time, space, and matter. I felt, in that moment, as though I had touched the soul of the universe itself. The stellar soup had not only nourished my body, but had opened my mind to the true interconnectedness of all things. I understood the Zerrian philosophy now. It wasn't just about the food, it was about sharing, about creating bonds, about understanding that everything in the cosmos was linked by invisible threads. Each recipe was a story, each dish a lesson, and through these meals, we could come to know the universe in ways words alone could never convey. The soup was more than just an ancient recipe. It was the key to understanding the cosmos, to forging a connection with beings from across the stars, and perhaps, in some small way, to bridging the gap between the unknown and the known. I had completed the journey, but in doing so, I had discovered something far greater than a recipe. I had uncovered a truth about the universe and about ourselves.